Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today, or tonight, we'll be reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we'll be reading from chapter 2, text, which is entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized, text 58. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yada samharite chayam kurmon ganiva sarvashaha indriyan indriyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtata. Alright, the translation. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi, or the devotee, must be very strong to control the serpents like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do-nots, and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and the do-nots, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna-conscious persons are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord, and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord, instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. Om Gyanatibidandasya Gananjana Shalaka Chakshul and Meditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Girim Yak Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diritaranam Vancha Kapadribhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, I'll read the translation again. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So in the Nectar of Instruction, which is Srila Prabhupada's translation of Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, the first verse explains the qualifications of a guru. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, odarapasta vegam, etan vegam yo vishaheta dhira sarvam ipimam prativim shashishya. So a authentic guru has to control all of these particular urges as one who could tolerate them. Vacho vegam, manasa krodham, the speech, the demands of the mind, and so on, the different senses, anger. So one who could control these or tolerate them, they are qualified to Prativim Shashishat, make disciples all over the world. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport there of that verse what exactly does it mean to control the senses. And he goes one by one, the different urges and senses. And he brings up this urge to become angry, right? Sometimes we become angry if we don't get what we want, or if something's not going our way. And he gives two examples of two great devotees, Hanuman and Arjuna, right? Bhagavad Gita. So they're brought up as an example as somebody who utilized their anger properly in the service of Krishna, or in the case of Hanuman Ramchandra. Once Srila Prabhupada said about the Bhagavad Gita, specifically one young man said to him, "Oh Swamiji," American young man said, "Oh Swamiji, when the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are distributed throughout the whole world," I think I mentioned this recently here, but when they're distributed throughout the whole world, then there'll be no more anger. And then Srila Prabhupada said, "What's wrong with anger?" And he said, "Krishna spoke the whole Bhagavad Gita just to make Arjuna angry, to fight." So there's ways to engage these different urges or to engage our senses that is actually uplifting. And that's what it means to be a Goswami. It means to go, right, is senses, Swami, master. So master of the senses means to engage our senses for our own upliftment and of course for Krishna's pleasure. Whereas a Go Das means servant of the senses. Go senses and Das servant. So a non-devotee or someone who's not a devotee of Krishna, practically speaking, has to be a Go Das. They have to try to satisfy their senses and mind. But a devotee is a Goswami, control over the senses. And a perfect example of one who can control their senses or one who utilizes their senses for Krishna's pleasure is Ambarisa Maharaja, who is found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which you could come in. You could come in if you like. So Ambarisa Maharaj. So we'll be having a little discussion here on the Bhagavad Gita for the next 15-20 minutes or so, and then after that we'll have Tulsi Puja, singing to Tulsi, and then after that they'll serve dinner, and then the altar will be open at 8:15 for darshan at 8:15. So you're welcome to stay or whatever you like to do. So Ambarisa Maharaj, he is found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he is Maharaj, a king, right? So Maharaj, there's like Arjun. Arjun's a prince, Kshatriya, right? Warrior, and he's a householder. He's not a Brahmin per se, and he's also not a sannyasi. He's a householder, married person, devotee, and he's a Kshatriya, warrior. But nonetheless, of course, that doesn't matter in the sense that sometimes people say, oh, well, you have to be a sannyasi, or you have to be a Brahmin, or you have to be this, you have to be that in order to be a pure devotee. And that's not true. Because anybody could be a pure devotee, means pure lover, purely attached to Krishna. It doesn't matter what the situation is, what their situation is. So Ambarisa Maharaj, he's also not a Brahmin, and he's also not a sannyasi. He's a king, Maharaj. And one particular time, but it said that Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo, that he would engage all of his senses in the service of Krishna very perfectly. He'd engage his nose in smelling the tulsi that's been offered to Krishna, or the flowers. He engaged his eyes in seeing the beautiful forms of the deities. He engaged his tongue in tasting prasadam. He engaged food offered to Krishna. He engaged his ears in hearing the glories of Krishna. He engaged his legs in walking to the temple, right? Walking to his car to drive to the temple. I'm just joking. Ambarisa Maharaj didn't have a car. He would walk to the temple, right? He engaged his hands and arms in sweeping the temple. In this way, he engaged all of his senses in the service of Krishna, and therefore he's a topmost devotee, Matpara devotee. So, and part of being a devotee is to be fearless. What's the cause of fear? The cause of fear is turning our backs from Krishna. We're turning, Krishna's here, and we turn our backs to Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, it says that that's the cause of fear. Because as soon as we turn our back towards Krishna, then the illusory energy, Maya, is there, And we become, it's a fearful situation. We don't have the protection of Krishna, practically. Or at least we feel we don't have the protection. So he was fearless. He was fearless. Ambarisa Maharaj. Do you think you could close that door, Maharshi? The kitchen door going to the pujari room, and also that audio closet door, please? Just because there's unnecessary noise. Right? That's better. So he was fearless. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where he is described, it's described that that Durvasa Muni, a great Muni. So he was a Brahmin and a mystic, right? Yogi, very powerful, extremely powerful. So he wanted to see Ambarisa Maharaj one day. And so he came to see Ambarisa Maharaj. And Ambarisa Maharaj as a Maharaj and a householder, he wanted to serve Durvasa Muni, prasadam, right? Food offered to Krishna, and with all of his associates or disciples. But what happened is Ambarisa Maharaj says, okay, Durvasa Muni and the disciples, you go down to the local river, you take your bath, and then once you're done, you come back, and then I'll serve you, right, prasadam. So then, but the thing is, it was, the previous day was a Kadashi, fasting, right? A fast day. So Ambarisa Maharaj, he wanted to break his fast, because there's actually a particular time frame in which you're supposed to break your fast, technically speaking. Some devotees don't mind so much, but there's a time, and that's according to the Vaishnava calendar. So Ambarish was realizing that the time was running out for him to break his fast. So he consulted some Brahmins, and he said, what should I do? So the Brahmins, they were a little also kind of, they weren't sure. So Ambarish Maharaj, eventually he said, okay, he decided himself that I'm going to drink water, because that's breaking your fast. Because he didn't want to break his fast fully. He didn't want to take or eat prasadam or take prasadam before Durvasa Muni. That's not proper, right? When we're serving guests. So so he did that. He drank some water. Yeah, Ambarisa Maharaj drank some water. So then Durvasa Muni, he knew this. He realized this by his mystic power that, he could tell somehow that that Ambarisa Maharaj drank some water. And he became very upset. He became very angry, talking about controlling the urges of anger, right? That's what we're talking about, controlling the urges of anger. So Durvasa Muni, although a great yogi, although a great mystic, was completely failed in controlling his anger. He completely failed. He failed the test. And then, what did he do? Durvasa Muni, he created this she demoness. Some say he demoness, which I said he before, then somebody said, oh, it's actually she. But then I looked into the Bhagavatam and I didn't see she. So whatever, whether it was she or he, it was this very frightful entity. He created it from his hair. He took a piece of his hair and he went like this. He threw it on the ground, and then this very frightful entity came. And the idea was for this person to kill Ambarisa Maharaj. That's what Durvasa Muni wanted. Which is interesting because he just drank some water. It's like, he didn't really, what was the big offense? See, sometimes yogis, they lose their anger, right? Talk about losing control of your anger. So So then this big personality, this demoness, was there about to kill Ambarisa Maharaj, and Ambarisa Maharaj was just like this, right? Thinking of Krishna, praying to Krishna. And then Krishna, or you could say Vishnu specifically, he sent his chakra, Sudarshan chakra, down and completely annihilated this entity. And then the chakra started going after Durvasa Muni. And what did Durvasa Muni do? Did he go like this? No. Durvasa Muni was running. And he ran, and he was running everywhere, all over the universe. And then eventually he ran to Lord Vishnu, right in Vaikuntha. And he said, he asked for protection from Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu said, well, what you have to do is you have to go and ask for forgiveness from Ambarisa Maharaj. He said, I don't have any power to stop this chakra. You have to go ask forgiveness from Ambarisa Maharaj. And then he started, Lord Vishnu started glorifying the nature of his relationships with his devotees. That they are in my heart, and I am in their heart. They don't know anyone besides me, and I don't know anyone besides them. And he said, not only are those who are my devotees, not only are they dear to me, but those who are devotees of my devotees are also dear to me. So that kind of gives some hope for, or some solace for people who, for those of us who don't feel we're, right, close to Krishna, or that we're devotees of Krishna. But if we become devotees of his devotees, right, servant of the servant of the servant, then we're also dear to Krishna. So he was glorifying the relationship, the nature of his relationships with his devotees. And then Durvasa Muni, he followed Lord Vishnu's instructions and came back down and asked for forgiveness. He fell at Ambarisa Maharaj's feet. Please forgive me. I tried to kill you with this demoness. Please forgive me. And Ambarisa Maharaj said, yeah, that's okay. I mean, he didn't say that exactly, but paraphrasing, he said, that's fine. It's no offense. He said, I didn't take any offense. And then it says that, I believe, as far as I remember, that because Ambarisa Maharaj wasn't able to feed him, so then he fed him, Durvasa Muni. So you have this example that one may be a powerful mystic or a powerful yogi or a powerful this or a powerful that, but still in the endeavor to control one's mind and senses and anger and so forth, it's only really controlled if we become a devotee of Krishna. And then someone would say, well, what's the use of controlling my mind and senses, right? Why? What's the big deal? Why can't I just be like the rest of the world and just let my senses out of control, right? Let them loose. But the rest of the world is unhappy for a very specific reason, and that is because uncontrolled senses. The life of uncontrolled senses means a life of unhappiness. And some people wondering, the leaders of the society are scratching their head, oh, why are our citizens so unhappy? Why are we so unhappy? Why is the world in such a chaotic condition? Well, because people aren't controlling their mind and senses. In other words, they're letting the selfishness and the anger and the greed and the envy and all these things completely control their lives. And how can they be happy like that? So the value of controlling the mind and senses is that the envy, the selfishness, the greed, all that doesn't control our lives. In other words, we're free, which means to be happy. So that's the value of controlling our senses. And the senses and mind are controlled when we are devoted to Krishna and to the spiritual master, just like Ambarisa Maharaj. And Durvasa Muni, although he was a great mystic and yogi and very powerful, he was extremely powerful. I mean, to pull out of your hair and then throw your hair down and create this entity, and just to go into Vaikuntha Loka, to travel wherever, you have to be very powerful. So he's extremely powerful. And in some case, there was actually this case where Durvasa Muni gave blessings to Srimati Radharani, that whatever you cook will be, right, absolute nectar, right, for Krishna. So Durvasa Muni also, despite this particular pastime, he still has some special service. So, in Krishna's pastimes. So if we want to be fearless, like Ambarisa Maharaja, and Durvasa Muni was displaying fear because he was running from the chakra, right? Ambarisa Maharaja was fearless. If this demon is supposed to kill me, okay, fine. So if we want to be fearless, if we want to be able to be happy by controlling the mind and senses, then therefore it's advised we follow in the footsteps of Ambarisa Maharaj, which means to engage all of our senses in the service of Krishna. So does anybody have any comments or questions? Prahlad. Yes. Prahlad Maharaj. Yes, Prahlad Maharaj was fearless, a young boy. How old are you? 11, okay. Prahlad was a little younger than you. Your shirt says CK, I think it's backwards. It's supposed to be KC. You know what KC is? For Krishna consciousness, right? I'm just joking. I know, it's Calvin Klein. Prahlad Maharaj was, extremely devotional, complete, pure devotee and exalted and completely fearless, although as a young boy, 5 years old. Hiranyakashipu, his father, right? He terrorized him, tried to kill him in so many ways. And Prahlad Maharaj was just very peaceful. There's beautiful paintings, actually, of Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto. You look there, the devotees, they paint really beautiful paintings of Prahlad Maharaj looking very saintly, and all of these people trying to attack him with spears and everything. He's like this, very saintly. So, in Prahlad Maharaj, he's also has great compassion in his heart, wanting to enlighten or wanting to save all the people who don't have Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada, he was once... first of all, starting with the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's one great personality by the name of Vasudeva Dutt. And Vasudeva Dutt, he had this desire. He wanted to take all the karma of all the living entities in the whole universe. Means like all the souls, all their karma, bad karma, right? Good karma, bad karma, mostly bad. So he wanted to take that, and he said, I don't care if I have to go to hell and suffer for a long time. He said, I don't mind. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, your humility is breaking my heart. He said that I will absolve all of these living entities from all their karma, and I'll send them back to the spiritual world, and you don't have to suffer, Vasudeva Dutt. So he fulfilled his desire. But it's explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Vasudeva Dutt is an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. So you have Vasudeva Dutt, you have Prahlad Maharaj, who became Vasudeva Dutt, right? So similar mood, wanting to take all the karma, wanting to help people. Now, interesting enough is that Srila Prabhupada's disciple one time, Harikesh, she asked him, Srila Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, it seems like you're in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. And Prabhupada said, yes, I'm always trying to save, the living entities, always trying to give them Krishna consciousness. So you have Vasudeva Dutt, you have Prahlad Maharaj, who incarnated Vasudeva Dutt, and then you have Srila Prabhupada, who said he's in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. He's in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, in the mood of Vasudeva Dutt. For example, one great acharya of another sampradaya, he saw that Srila Prabhupada was allowing his disciples and followers to make murtis of him. and to put them all over the world. And hundreds and thousands of people every day touching Srila Prabhupada's feet. And this Acharya from this other Sampradaya, he said, Swami Maharaj, do you understand what you're doing by doing this? That if you have your murti all over the world and everyone's touching your feet, you understand what you're doing, that all this karmic reaction is going to come your way, all this bad karmic reaction? And then Srila Prabhupada said to this Acharya, he said, that's the reason I came. That's the reason I came. That's what I came for, to do that. So, yeah, you have Prahlad Maharaj fearless. So, thank you. I always, when I think about Prahlad Maharaj, I think about Vasudeva Dutt, and then I connected to Prabhupada. So, anyways, thank you. Oh, yeah? Wow, some people say Prabhupada was incarnation of Vyasadeva, huh? Well, I've never heard that, but Srila Prabhupada never said that.
Somebody said it in front of Prabhupada.
Oh, yeah. 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 Well, we could definitely, there's so many ways to glorify Srila Prabhupada, but we could definitely, as Srila Prabhupada would say, the spiritual master is the representative of Vyasadeva. So, or the representative of Nityananda, or Balaram. So, so yeah, that's there. So, and yes, he did amazing, right, work. Yeah, so. I saw, yes. Yeah. 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 All right. So, what are your ages? 10? Okay. 6? 12. 10, 6, 11, 12, right? 7. Who's 11? Yeah, you're 11. Who's 6? And how old are you again? 7? How old did you say? Oh, 10, sorry. And you're 13? 12. Okay. 12. So, well, they say that unless, like, for example, if you tell children, this is, I'm speaking to yeah, all of you here, but if you tell children that, hey, if you tell like a young kid, 5-year-old, 4-year-old or something, you say, hey, why are you playing with those scissors? And you take away the scissors, and then they're just crying, right? And you, go sit in the corner or something. They're just crying. They don't have anything, no engagement. But if you take away the scissors and you give them a whatever, give them a coloring book or something like that, some type of other engagement, then okay, they feel satisfied. It's a better engagement. It's a more healthy engagement. So yeah, we need to be engaged, children or young adults, whatever the age is, right? From age 5 to, whatever the age is, we need to be engaged. So we should try to find what we like to do and do that for Krishna. Like some people like to cook. And sometimes you don't know that you like to cook unless you try. Or like for generally girls, there's Bharatanatyam dancing. Now, they may say, oh, I don't want to do that because I don't really like it, or that looks too difficult, or something like that. Or maybe the parents don't want them to do it for this reason or that reason, who knows. But it is an engaging thing, and it can be Krishna conscious. There's songs about Lord Jagannath and so many different. And it's fun and a way to engage, right, the energy. And they don't know that they like it unless they try. Or kirtan, right, learning mridanga, for boys to learn mridanga, or kartals, or harmonium, to sing, right, for Krishna. Or also boys, girls, they cook, right? It's not just restricted to girls. Boys could also cook. Like in Mayapur, for example, at the Gurukul in Mayapur, young boys, 10 years old, 12 years old, so on, they're all cooking. The adults don't cook, they cook. They cook everything. Because, the idea is to train them up how to cook. It is, Srila Prabhupada knew how to cook. And you know how he learned how to cook? He said he watched his mother. Prabhupada was a good cook. He watched his mother cook, and he watched the different people on the streets of Calcutta cook. So that's how he learned to cook. So it's nice to learn these things: instruments, cooking, harmonium, kartals, Bharatanatyam. We could try to read, right? Of course, nowadays there's two different types of entertainment. There's the entertainment as we know it nowadays, where it's just, you look at the screen and all the entertainment's just like there for us. In other words, we don't have to do any work. Whereas a book, you gotta open it up and read, and kind of got to use your imagination. It takes a little bit more work. But to develop a taste for that, that's also good, right? So those are some ideas. But also for the parents to be good examples, because practically speaking, the children just imitate the parents in so many ways. It's amazing, actually. Like the gestures, the mannerisms, the way the parents speak. So in other words, every little minute thing that the parents do have an impact on the children. Everything. Which sounds maybe a little exaggeratory, but it's actually true. Whatever they say, and part of what they say is what they think. So in other words, they're thinking something, and then they're going to say it. So whatever they think, whatever they say, whatever they think and say to each other, how do they treat their friends, how do they treat their family, what are they doing with their time, right? How much are they engaged in Krishna consciousness, and on and on and on. Like Srila Prabhupada, he said that so much of his success was actually from training of his father. He said, my father, he trained me how to play mridanga. He trained me how to engage in deity worship. He trained me in all the aspects of Krishna consciousness. And then later on, I met my eternal spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who solidified the teachings of my father, who he said was a pure devotee. So largely it's the parents who have a lot of responsibility to somehow or other engage children in positive activities. And also the Gurukul in Mayapur, the boys also do some type of martial arts, which is good. It's means we shouldn't, spend our whole time and energy 24 hours a day focusing on martial arts or something, but some time of the day and to learn those things, it's healthy. It gets the blood circulation going, the mind focuses, and so they do that in Mayapur, which is like a lot would accept it to be the prototype or the way to educate children. So they do things like that also. So, and then just association. The way we advance is by association, children and adults. So that's practically, largely the main way. So so those younger devotees, they need good association of the parents, and then also of other devotee youth. So it is a bit of a challenge because the culture of America is going in this way and we're trying to go this way. So it is a challenge. I understand that. But those are some ideas, and I hope that kind of touches on the point, which I kind of addressed it from the point of view of the youth and the adults. So kind of both. So it's like a combination, actually. But they all seem nice, so I'm sure you'll all be okay. Yeah, at least they come to the temple, and they all seem non-dull, when someone dull. So they seem, like there's life there, means in the eyes, and so that's good. So, all right. Okay, so thank you very much. Now we will move to the next part. We'll bring out Tulsi Devi, and then after that, the altar will open at 8:15, and we'll also serve dinner, so prasadam. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.